So you asked about my upbringing and the news that surrounded me and how that affected me. I don't think it did, but I think that there is a difference between your generation and mine. I think that over time, because of progress, because of good developments in world history, fewer people are met with the angel of death. Fewer terrible things happen to people, and they might happen later in life. And so it's possible to go on with your childish naivety for longer, for more people. That's been my hypothesis, uh, although I can't say whether it's true.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of data that suggests that outcomes are better now than they were before, that
Yeah,
fewer
right.
people die in war than did before, that kind of thing. So
That's what I'm talking about.
there's a lot of objective data that substantiates that. Yeah, I think my question, my curiosity is more toward how we make worldviews relative to these kinds of questions. I think that when you talk about the angel of death, it seems awkward, like an awkward expression to me.
Yeah, I apologize for it, but I can't think of a better way to say it.
No, there's no need to apologize. I think it's interesting that it feels that way to me. Because like you, I've been ill and threatened with death.
Mhm.
So but I never saw it in those terms. In terms of the angel of death or something like that.
I'll tell you,
No, go ahead.
I'll tell you where it comes from, and I'll tell you a possible alternative to it, but I don't like that one even more, so I haven't used it. But where the angel of death comes from is the Four Agreements by Don Ruiz Miguel, who says that he says everyone is raised to believe that the world works in a certain way and that you should respond to other people in a certain way. And there are rules to the way people interact, and we call that culture. So everyone's raised within their culture, but then it limits you. And so if you wake up from the shared dream of culture, that's part of growing up. And there are various ways to do that. You can get a guru, you can go on a spiritual journey, but the fastest way to do it is to meet the angel of death. And then you know where the dream ends. And so I use that as a shorthand for the experience that I had, that felt very much like this, like some sort of barrier between me and the rest of the world had been taken away. The other way you can talk about it is that a friend of mine, a philosopher, like educated in philosophy, at some point he, as like a throwaway comment, he said, "I haven't had my understanding of mortality yet. I hope it doesn't happen for a while." And so he talked about it as if learning about your own mortality is a rite of passage that everyone goes through at some point, but it must be very unpleasant, and he hadn't done it yet. So that's another way to think about it.
Well, I mean, I think those are very, I'm sorry, I kind of feel very like they're just incredibly limited choices. And learning about one's mortality I just think that there are so many ways that individuals, different individuals, come to these questions. And one of the things I don't like about that kind of thinking
Mhm.
is the way it boxes the immense diversity of humanity. And that's one thing. The other thing is, I can't see how one steps out of culture. I mean, I just can't see that. The bracket of the things that bracket the whole of our thoughts in various places, from wherever we come, from whatever we heard, those things constitute culture. I don't know how I think outside of, I mean, because culture isn't a set of rules. Culture is the experience of others and how it comes to us and what we make of it. And, you know, if you grew up in a city like New York, you know, I mean, what I saw there was, you know, hundreds of cultures. And that constitutes yet another culture. You know, and profoundly affects how I see things and how I feel about things and how I react to things, including my own mortality. You know, and the other thing I would say too is that I would bring into this conversation, I spent 7 years working in hospice.
Mhm.
So I saw a lot of people die.
Yeah.
And I've seen how a lot of different individuals come to death. And so when I hear about some regular order of how we might think about living and dying, I'm unconvinced.
Well, so I definitely see people who have who have seen death and who haven't. Would you say that that's just me recognizing two of the many possible boxes?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't use the word just.
Mhm.
I would say that, yeah, you're looking at a couple of possibilities there. By looking at those possibilities, if I use the word just, I'm assuming that as you're looking at those possibilities, you see nothing else.
Mhm.
And that seems to me unlikely. You may choose
Mhm.
to refer to those two, but my sense is that when we're looking at those two things, we're also seeing many other things. It's just that we don't choose to mark those other things. We say, well, I'm going to choose this, and these are the ones I'm going to work with.
Mhm.
But, you know, to go back to hospice and, you know, passing your days with dying people, the ways in which they turn the ball, the crystal ball, are so infinite
Mhm.
and so varied that a couple of options seems to me a willful reduction. It's just, you know, and willful in the sense of like, holy smoke, there are so many possibilities. I don't think I want to deal with all of that. I'll take these two.
Uh-huh.
And you know, and for myself, I mean, I think I've done precisely that. You know, I've asked myself, of all the things that I've seen, what's the one path I don't want to walk?
Okay. That was my next question.
And so I've made a choice. There were hundreds of, you know, ways I could look at that. But what I've said is, the one path I don't want to walk is this one. And so I'm going to live my life so that when it comes to an end, I can feel satisfied that I haven't taken that path. But, you know, there are lots of other, you know, and I have no idea what other feelings or ideas will occur to me at that time. But I know that that one I want to make sure I don't deal with.
You've told me before, are you talking about when you're working in the hospice and you saw the way that some people approached the way you talked about it was not how they approached death, but the way that they thought back on their lives.
Exactly. Well, it was what, you know, it's what death brings to them. What death brought to them was enormous regret for the lives they hadn't lived.
Right.
And that was one theme that came over and over and over. And it was so full of remorse that I just thought to myself, I couldn't bear to be dying and in that place. So I'm going to live my life in a way that seeks to give expression to the dreams I truly hold close and have dearly dreamt, so that I don't have to lie there in all that discomfort and at the same time carrying all of that remorse.
Yeah.
I just don't want that.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a similar, I made it, so talking about different choices, I was faced with a similar choice and I made it differently. I remember very clearly lying on this was the first time, lying on the gurney when they were putting me under for the first surgery. And I thought, I have raised two beautiful girls and I've written a good book. That was my first book that was published. It would be published, although I didn't know it then. That's good. I've done some good work. I'm satisfied with that. When the second time they put me under, I said, if nothing else, at least the pain will go away. And then coming out of it, I had the choice, do I want to live my life like an automaton? Do I want to sleepwalk through my life and not make things that satisfy me and not bring good things into the world, like my books and my children? And that was the direction that I chose. I'm going to do something that improves the world. And I know that other people make the choice in different ways, but I think that other people don't make the choice at all, or at least they haven't yet.
They don't. I mean, it's also, I guess, you know, it's like, yes, it's true, they don't make those choices and it's kind of their business.
I mean, I'm not gonna tell them what to do.
Well, you can't.
But you can't. But you still have to say, I don't want that for myself. I don't want to do that.
Well, yeah, that's you know, you're dealing with yourself there. You're not dealing.
Right.
You know, I think it's important not to conflate the narratives you have with yourself and the narratives you desire to construct with others.
Yeah.
I do think that it's important to say what you think. And I do think it's important to work, to think sensibly. I question how that I just constructed that, but I think it's important, but I don't think that I can do anything more than, actually, I don't think I want to do anything more than share the difficulties of life with everyone else. I don't think I want to, inform myself in such a way that I somehow rise above it. I would rather get dirty and be in it.
Mhm. So when you, mhm.
Then imagine that I'm not,
Mm.
because that's all it would be. It would just be, it would just be me shining myself on, because we're all in it.
Right.
And, like the joke goes, nobody gets out alive.